die here. Do you want to take a trip? Hi, guys. We are back. Strange Journeys is back again, and we are here with another special show, one of our regular shows, and we've got some special guests, as you can see already. I'm Tom, your ghost host, and that's Tim, our co-ghost host.
Hey, everybody.
And you've seen Al before. If you've been watching the show, you've seen Al, and he's going to introduce himself and everybody else here in just a few minutes. So hang on. We'll be right back with them. Now, I want you to remember that we provide these shows first and foremost, and we're getting some roaring sound somewhere. I don't know what that is. And it usually doesn't come back on the playback for some reason, so I'm just hearing a roaring. It just could be in my head. We provide these shows first and foremost for you, the watchers, for your entertainment. We are not by any means and do not claim to be scholars or experts in any of the topics we cover. Now, I'm talking about Tim and I, because we're not experts on PSEI, but these guys are, okay? We're simply enthusiasts and storytellers who have fun with these topics while doing our best to respect individual beliefs. Now, remember, this is pre-recorded, and you already know about all of our technical difficulties, but it will be streamed on the regular date and time, which is Saturday, May 7 at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. So if you're watching, it's that time now. And we thank you. And if you're watching it after that, thank you for watching. Now, our last revisited show this past Saturday, we finished up with Beware the Black-Eyed Kids, Part 2. Now, you talk about some creepy stories that we covered with the Black-Eyed Kids. And, Tim, do you remember how we ended that show, or how I ended the show? And now you're muted.
How do I always get muted? No, I probably muted myself. No, you wrote a song for that one, didn't you?
That's right. I ended the show with my song Black-Eyed Kids. So if you want to hear that and be able to make fun of me, go back and watch our revisited show from this past Saturday. And our last main show was The Curse of Black River, which we talked about, talked about the book that came out in the early 70s called The Wisconsin Death Trip. And we talked about that interval of time in the little town of Black River Falls, Wisconsin in the late 1800s, where just all kind of macabre and strange and unusual things happened. And so if you like the dark, if you like the macabre, I mean, one story about a woman thinking she had a cancer on her back, so she doused herself in kerosene and lit herself on fire. That's just one of the strange, macabre stories out of that. So be sure to watch that. It is in 2 parts because we're pre-recording now. I can only use up to an hour on pre-recorded, so they're back-to-back on there. And our next revisited show, we go back and revisit our abduction show where we talk about, remember that one, Tim? We talked about, Fire in the Sky.
Right, the guy from Fire in the Sky. What was his name? Walker. I couldn't think of what his first name is. So
I can see his face. I can't remember it either.
So can I, and I can't think of it either. Anyway, yeah, out of Springfield, Arizona, there, Springerville.
Yep.
That's the one that my dad saw the UFO.
Lumberjacks.
That night,
That's right. And we also talked about the Pascagoula abduction in 1973.
Right.
And had my friend on that owns a recording studio there. And actually got one of the guys from the Pascagoula abduction to record his story right after it happened, and he still has that recording. So next week, our Revisited show, we start the first part of the abductions. So check that out. I will warn you ahead of time that the first 10 minutes or so were real splotchy because my guest, Dan Cummins, was right in the middle of building his house, so he was having to be on the show on his phone in his van. Right. And he kept losing signal. So, all right. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Please remember the following.
Click that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.
Yep, that's my grandson. Lynn's over there with him this afternoon. They're hanging out at their place. And so remember to like and subscribe, just like Tristan said. Do it. It's okay. You know, we would appreciate it, and nobody's going to get mad at you. All right, and if you can help support the show, we would certainly appreciate it. Whoops. Tim. And it does take a little bit, and sorry about that. Tim and I clicked at the same time. I clicked, or one of us clicked to start it, and the other clicked and turned it off. So, but those things happen. Anyway, it does take a little bit of cashola, moolah to do what we do, and if you can help us support, produce this, we would certainly appreciate it. We have levels 5, 10, I think 25, and you get stuff with each one, little merch. And so there's, you're not used to me being here the last few weeks. That's right, Tim. Right. I'm not used to Tim being here the last few weeks. So, all right. Yes, our Night Trek shows are on Friday evenings at 10 Central, 11 Eastern, One Dark Tale, because it's one dark night. When you're watching this on May 7, the show that we just aired is The Bunny Man. So tell us what you think about our Night Trek shows. First one was Flory. The second one was Warren Percy, Village of the Damned. And then we had Old Jake, and now The Bunny Man. So tell us what you think about our Night Trek show. Well, we've got a special one today, folks. We've got some special guests that we're going to be talking to. So how about we get started? All right. I want to go watch that show. Where's it playing? Several years ago, a few of the ETs, Tim and myself and a few of the others, worked with a national haunted tour company and were privileged to meet and get to know our special guest way over there on the other side, Mr. Al Luna, the Big Kahuna. I call him Big Al. If you've been watching for any length of time, you've seen Al on several episodes. Or Did You Hear That? Parts 2 and 3, where we talked about ghost hunting. And he was also made a special appearance on our Strange States, Ohio show with a couple of video stories. And now Al joins us again with some of the team members of PSEI, Paranormal Spirit Encounter Investigations. And they're going to tell us about some of their adventures. First, Al, can you give us a brief history of PSEI and introduce each of our guests?
Okay, as far as the history goes, PSEI was founded on January 11th of 2014.
Wow, a specific day.
Yes, indeed. Over 8 years ago. And the team was founded under the principle and function of helping people in fear or being harmed. So it's our goal to help those that are being tormented in some way, have things going on in their home or business, and they're in fear, they can't understand it, and we help them to understand it. Okay?
Excellent.
So I want to introduce, at my lower left would be Linda Morgenstern. Raise your hand.
Hi, Linda.
Hi.
And you have Greg Justice.
Peace.
And Sandra Tody.
Hello.
And just for a real quick, these are my 3 team leaders, and we'll
Excellent.
get more into that towards the end of the show.
All right. Sounds good. All right. We've got some questions. So y'all remember, I'm going to ask, Tim and I are going to take turns asking these questions. And so, I gave you all these questions ahead of time, except I don't think Linda knows this, but I have one trick question coming at the end, so y'all be waiting for that. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is kind of a round table. We'll discuss, ask questions, whatever pops up. I'm going to ask you a general question, and if in you telling a story, if Tim or I have clarification questions, we'll ask those. So those, we don't know what those are until we actually get into it. So first off, I want to know, Linda, Greg, Sandra, whichever order we want to go. Do you feel comfortable sharing what you do in daily life outside of ghost hunting? Now, let me clarify this. I have the feeling that ghost hunters, paranormal investigators come from all walks of life. I just want to see what sections of the pie we're dealing with here, okay? I'll tell you what, Linda, how about you start?
Just about everyone that knows me knows that I do ghost hunting and am involved with the paranormal. I grew up with it happening within my own life, in my own home. So I make no secret of it.
Okay. Well, sorry if I confused you. I just want to know what you do in your daily life.
In my daily life?
Yeah.
I am an account manager for a software automation company. I'm also a substitute teacher.
Excellent. Excellent. That's awesome. I mean, to me, the substitute teachers are some of those unsung heroes out there.
Thank you.
You know, I mean, kudos, pat on the back, because y'all have to deal with the worst of it sometimes. Well, Linda, thank you for being here. Greg, what about you?
I actually am a circus performer. I'm in charge of driving the clown car to each event. You have to have a special license for that. So, no, I'm actually a full-time artist. Again, I also work for a digital marketing company.
Excellent. I think the clown car driver would be more fun.
I think so too. I feel confident I could do it. you know?
Right. Somebody else would come up with an answer like I would. It's all good now. We're great.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah,
he's one of Toledo's best artists.
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Fantastic.
And you do this for a local media company or for a corporation?
For the art, I do the full-time art for myself, but then the digital marketing company is a company that just works nationwide that I work remotely with.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, as you can see, I dabble in digital arts. I'm just a dabbler. And, I actually do that as my day job now. I mean, along with other duties, but I do all the little memes and videos for the company I work for to put out there, promotional videos and things like that. So kudos, good job, Sandra.
Yes, I run a full service horse farm. I do horse boarding, training, lessons, and then I have my own breeding program, and I train and show my own horses. So busy all year round. No holidays, no sick days.
Right.
Rain or shine. So
I hear you. I wasn't raised on a horse breeding farm, but I was raised on a farm. And so, yeah, there's no days off.
no,
And that's awesome.
I love it. I'm doing what I love. So
Well, that's the main thing.
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I wanted. I mean, because, ghost hunters come from all walks of life.
Right.
We've got a substitute teacher, account manager, an artist, and a horse breeder. How cool is that?
It's pretty cool.
And Al, what's your background?
I'm an old retired fart now, so
Yeah.
I've done many things in my past.
Well,
I've done everything from building tracks on the railroad to working in a corporate office in their claims area,
wow.
to selling TV, radio, print advertising, you name it, I've done it.
Al, you sound like a musician. Because I'm a musician, and most musicians' resume would be a book. At work every day, they're like, something will come up, and I say, well, when I used to do that, and they're like, Tom, how many jobs have you had? And so I was like, you don't have time to sit here and listen to the list.
Yeah. Well, the last time I was told to do a resume, they said, well, make sure you keep it within about a page and a half. I said, well, there's no sense in me starting then.
That's right. What's the point? I started my LinkedIn profile 10 years ago, and I couldn't finish.
Yeah, there were too many jobs there. I understand.
People go to sleep reading the links there. But anyway, I think this is awesome. This was my point in asking the question, that I wanted to show that ghost hunters come in different varieties. We share a common interest. That's you've only met just Tim and I, but we have other ETs, and they're all different. It's so cool how that happens.
Right.
Go ahead, Tim.
No, I mean, I was going to say you sound like a tour guide because, from those of us that were doing that 8 years ago with the other company, all of us had like 15, 20 jobs we were working.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah. So how did you come to know about PSEI?
I joined with PSEI when we had them come out and investigate our own home.
Okay.
I had a lot of activity going on here, and when they came out, we were able to identify and capture EVPs and some photos. But after that, then I joined the team.
Wow. Yeah, Tim. Al has mentioned that on a previous show that he has team members now that were former clients.
Hmm.
So I think that's cool, Linda.
Now let me ask,
All
Linda,
of
was that your first paranormal experience? So,
I grew up with paranormal in the home, so I've experienced it from a young age. But that was the first time that we had an actual investigation within the home.
Okay, Greg, what were you were pointing down? Greg and Sandra both were clients?
Just
Or Sandra?
I was, yeah.
Well, Sandra, tell us about that.
All right. Well, I've lived here. Well, this year is 15 years, and we've always had experiences in this house. And there were a few years where we were having a lot of occurrences. I mean, before that, we might have a couple a year, but there for a few years, it seemed like every day, every night, we were having an experience. And
Wow.
a friend of mine actually found the group online,
Nice.
and she says, "Hey, if I get a hold of them, you want to have an investigation?" I was like, "Well, yeah." And we set it up, and then actually I joined the team before we even did the investigation.
Oh, wow.
I was like all for it, you know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And Greg, how did you find out about it?
Well, actually, I could have used Al's help years ago with an ex-wife who I believe was possessed, but I didn't know him at the time. But Al and I actually used to work for in radio together years ago.
Wow.
But I came to PSEI through they were doing a paranormal conference, and I was one of the vendors there trying to pawn my artwork on to Poor Helpless Souls. And Al and I were just starting chatting, and he was telling me more about the group, and so we just started talking, and eventually I just did an interview and was able to get on with the team. So that's how it came about.
Excellent. Well, Linda kind of mentioned that she's been dealing with paranormal things all of her life. Greg, what was your very first paranormal experience that you remember?
You know, the house, what's funny is like the house I grew up in was like it was a brand new home. But I have like, there's 7 kids in my family, but the home that I grew up in also had a lot of weird things. And one of the first things I remember was laying in bed, getting a creepy feeling, and I watched my doorknob, you could see the lock. I watched the doorknob turn really slow one way and really slow back the other way. So I hurried up, got up, thinking it was my little brother or sister, and there was like nobody there. So there was a lot of like odd things that would happen like that throughout growing up in that house that kind of piqued my interest in it.
That's awesome. So, Sandra, what about you?
Pretty much the same thing. I have had experiences since as long as I can remember. My first experiences starting at maybe around 5 years old. And it's funny, growing up, I lived in numerous different homes. Lots of times we'd move year from year, and wherever I went, I had experiences. And so as I got older, you know, the paranormal shows became popular. And so I got really big into watching them and thought, man, I'd really like to do that. And it just grew more of an interest in it.
Awesome. I mean, Tim's got another question for you, but I think y'all kind of answered that. But go ahead, Tim.
Right. So these early experiences that you had, was that what got you interested in doing the paranormal investigating?
Absolutely. For sure.
Excellent. All right. Now, let's think about some specific instances when you were ghost hunting. Did you ever come across anything or apparition while you were on a ghost hunt that actually frightened you? Did you get that chill, that terror? Greg, we'll start with you.
You know, honestly, I don't really feel like I've ever had one that scared me so bad where I really felt terrified. The only time I feel like I've gotten unnerved even at all, but it's kind of like, I think when you're a paranormal investigator, you kind of look for these unnerving moments. It's
Right.
really like not so much even when equipment's going off, but like maybe when you're in a dark space by yourself and you could just feel something right there with you. That just feels like it's like angry or something. So
Yeah.
just with a couple places where we've been where, you're kind of alone in the dark, feeling like something's with you. That's kind of a little unnerving, but like I said, it's kind of like a good unnerving. That's kind of like
Right.
what you live for, really, when you're
Well, true.
investigating.
I mean, that gal has said on the show before that his team is the type when people are running away from an apparition or some kind of evidence, your team is running toward it. And that's always been my thought for ghost hunting. That's what you're there for. So why
Right,
are you
exactly.
dropping all your equipment and screaming like a little girl and running away? I mean, even he who must not be named, Big Star, does it all the time, which is why I don't watch his shows anymore.
He's
And
kind of adventurous, isn't he?
yeah, he is kind of
That'd be
adventurous.
the one. Yeah.
And we call him he who must not be named on this show because I mean, the first time he did that, I'm like, oh my God, come on. And I quit watching it,
Right.
and then you see all the clips everywhere, and it's like he's doing the same thing, "Wah!" and running away. And I'm like, why are you there?
And
Or
how many times can one
Or
person
he
be
sends
possessed
in-
in a lifetime?
sends his sidekick that everybody loves and adores into the most evil, dark place he can find for him. Come on. That guy's too nice. We love
Now,
him.
see, that's what's going to be my question for Al: is if he sends everybody else out to the worst places. Here, you go over there.
Yeah. I mean, but even though, I mean, I've been on ghost hunts before where, I mean, I am the same way, Al. I jump on in there like, what, here, I've got a recorder right here. Here's the camera standing in front of you, come on, show yourself. But there have been times where something happened and you just feel that apprehension and that chill of terror. Sandra, have you ever experienced that on a hunt?
Rarely. I will say there was an instance this past year. We weren't actually doing an investigation there yet. We had went there for an interview. And during an interview, we'll walk around the house and listen to what they have to say. And I was going upstairs. We hadn't been upstairs yet or anything. I decided I'm going to go ahead and go upstairs. And I get almost to the top and I just stop. It was like you could just feel like a heaviness and something just telling you, don't come up here.
Wow.
And I have to push on. That's what I did. But I definitely hesitated, and that's not something I normally do. So.
Wow. I mean, it was more of an oppression.
Absolutely. Yep. More of a feeling,
Well,
and actually in that house, we did have some complications there. We did have to
Really?
return back a few times. So there was definitely something big, heavy there.
Well, I mean, I appreciate the fact that you said you pushed through. I mean, you felt that apprehension and like something was trying to stop you, but you went on
Right.
anyway. When you went through that and you got to where you were going, did anything manifest, or did the act of your defiance going on through just kind of push it away where nothing happened?
Nothing happened. I mean, I still felt it. It didn't go away once I went up there. Okay, it was still there, but it didn't continue on to anything else.
Okay. So it was more just trying to, I guess, dissuade you from going in there.
Right.
Cool.
You could it's almost like you could feel just the negativity. Like, if you feel that energy, it's hard to explain.
Well, I mean, I think everybody here understands what you're saying, and we have people watching that have been through the same thing, because this is one of the major tenets of our show. And that's what we believe. That's why we're doing this. You sharing your story.
Absolutely.
Linda, what about you? Have you come across something like that?
I had one experience, and it was in my own home, and I was home alone, actually doing laundry, and a door slammed behind me,
Wow.
and I could feel a presence, kind of one of those where you brace yourself, like here it comes.
Yeah.
I heard whatever it was run up the basement steps and out a back door. And as soon as I heard it hit the door, I took off to see, who's in my home. And my back door was locked from the
Who be
inside.
there? Who there?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
And it was locked.
it was locked. Yeah.
I mean, okay, let me get this straight. The door that slammed was locked?
Correct. They're deadbolt
Wow.
locks. And the house was locked up. I had it locked. But I distinctly heard them run up the steps and go out
Wow.
that door. And it was all locked up. Nothing
Holy
was
cow.
disturbed.
Yeah, some kind of residual. I mean, do you know of anything that's happened there in the past that could, that it could account for that?
No. I mean, I've had my parents have passed away here, and I have a half brother and sister. Their father passed away as well in the home,
Wow.
but it wasn't a violent death,
Right.
and they were surrounded by family.
Well, I mean, the reason I ask is because I heard of a situation where someone heard someone running down the steps and out the front door and slamming the door and all that kind of stuff, and it was a residual from like 100 years ago, where someone living in that home had ran down the steps, slammed the door to go out because their brother or family member, somebody had been hit and run over out in the road and was dying.
No.
It just reminded me of that.
Linda actually has a very busy home, where a lot of times, even when we have group meetings, we go to her house because we know we could talk and get a lot of hit on our equipment.
There you
She's
go.
got some great evidence, actually. So.
That's awesome. Well, Al, you hadn't chimed in much. So what about you? Have you ever come across one of those experiences where, like Sandra, you felt the apprehension, but I know you'd go on anyway?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to let you know that video that you're going to play, that was at Linda's house.
Oh, okay.
And like Greg said, it's always active, always something going on there. The only time that I've run into a situation where it froze me in my place was during the first exorcism that I did with our friend, the Roman Catholic priest.
Uh-huh.
And I actually got attacked by the demon. So
Oh.
I had to fight this thing off from inside while he's doing the exorcism prayer and everything.
Wow.
So it just stood my ground, and eventually it left. So
Wow. Amazing. I mean, that would cause a little bit of apprehension, I'm sure.
oh yeah, when you're standing in a house that's about 60 degrees and you start sweating, you know something's going on. And when you have tingling going up and down your spine,
Yeah.
it's a little touchy.
I'm sure. All right, before we go to the next question, I want to play that video. And like I said, we've played this on here before, but since then, the service that we use added a new option where I have a little more control. So I'm going to play it once, and then we'll this was captured in Linda's home, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so Linda might be able to tell us a little more about this. Hang on. Now, we will be able to talk through it, so whatever you want to explain. This was, March the 12th, 2016. Yeah, it's short. I'll play it again. And here's something I wanted to show right here. Whatever that is transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And if you really pay attention, when it starts up coming into the view, it's very light. You can
Uh-huh.
hardly see any, contrast to it or anything. But as it starts to spin up, then it starts to get brighter.
Yep.
Now, I've had people from Europe and Australia, other countries say, "Oh, that's a Luna moth. That's a, so-and-so moth." No, no, no. When I stop that right at the very top, and you're not able to do it on here, but when I enlarge it, you can
Yeah.
actually see 6 rings, 6 circles that are putting this together
Wow.
to form that entity. And then it fills in as it starts going up.
Go ahead.
Can I make a comment about that?
Certainly.
We were doing an investigation when we caught this, and I feel whatever this was or multiples, they wanted us to see it. We had our cameras set up and we had our monitors set up, and we were actually taking a break during this time. We weren't actively investigating. We were investigating. We were taking about a 10-15 minute break. We were just eating snacks, talking about our experiences around the monitor, and it literally happened right there in front of all of our eyes.
Wow.
On the monitor.
That is so cool.
And
That is so cool.
Jumped up and started running in there with her recorder and camera, almost bulldozed all of us.
I did.
Excellent. Way to go, Sandra. Just knock them out
That's
of the
how
way.
you do it. No running and screaming in terror for me.
No, gosh, that's awesome.
And
Go ahead.
so my backyard up is the back 9 of a golf course. So
Wow.
I don't have any, like street lights or anything in the backyard. I don't have any traffic behind me for where that came in. So it's
Wow.
not like a reflection off of a car light or something of that nature. So.
Well, it's something that's been mentioned on this show before, and I don't know how y'all feel about it, but we've done several shows on fairies and little people and puckwudgies, and it could be one of those earth elementals and not a ghost per se. I mean, that's just a thought. I'm no
That was
expert.
my thought too, because it looked very much like Elizabeth shared a video with us at one point where she had something very similar in her video that came across, and she was like, "Well, this is a fairy, I'm pretty sure."
Yeah.
Well, and
So it's interesting to look at that.
The one thing that we've run with ever since it happened. Now, that night before we started investigating, our psychic medium, Bob, told us that something was going to happen back in those rooms.
Wow.
And he also told us that Linda's mother was trying to find a way to communicate with her because she hadn't been able to up until that point. And she was wanting to find a way to let Linda know that she's there.
Wow.
Do you believe that that was her coming through?
That
Right.
yes. I mean,
could
if you attribute angels with wings, who says they have to be big?
Yep.
If you attribute wings to spirits, I'm just going off the assumption that those are wings. It may not be. Okay, it
Right.
just looks like to me wings, but I'm not going to just say, "Oh, that's wings."
It's always
the
looked more
possibility.
angelic to me than anything else.
Yeah, that
True.
was my first impression of it. Was it looked
True.
like an angel?
Right.
Although I've never seen one, so I wouldn't know. But
Well, if you believe the scriptures, they do say that sometimes you have entertained angels and not know it.
Well, and I wish I had the video for you, Tom. There's actually another team here in Toledo
Mm-hmm.
that captured a video up in the founder's mother's attic.
Wow.
It looks almost exactly like this, and it's coming across
Wow.
their attic. And they have gotten voices of a little girl up in this attic.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, that would be cool. Post it on our page or in our Strange Friends group we'd love to see that if you got that to share it.
I'll see if
All
I
right.
can get it from him.
Tim is gonna see. My mama always did that. My older brother's name is Tim, and she never could figure out who she was wanting to scream at, Tom or Tim.
Right.
So Tim,
right.
Tim's
Tom or
gonna
Tim,
take
one
us-
of them's in trouble. It's
Yeah.
all good.
That's right. Tim's going to take us on a less than serious trip right here.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the most comical experiences you've had while ghost hunting, because I know that they happen. I do a tour. Tom knows about this. I know Al knows about this. I have one ghost that swears at me every time I'm out there through the voice box. So, some of the humorous things that you have happen while you go on. Greg, anything in particular you can think of?
I don't really think it's so much of any paranormal thing that's happened where it's funny as much as some of the conversations we have in between the investigations when we're on breaks.
Yeah.
It definitely could go downhill very quickly. I mean, we would need a full-time censor sometimes with what we talk about. So really, I think it's just a lot of times that. And then occasionally, we'll try and jump out, from a corner to scare the other person, make sure their heart's working properly and everything.
Right.
But really, it's just, you take the investigation seriously and everything, but also when it's on the break, you're just trying to have fun too. And actually, when you're having fun too, it kind of puts clients at ease a little bit too. If you don't look like you're all stressed out. So.
Yeah, exactly. When Kent Rasmussen was on, he had Salem Paranormal out in Salem, Oregon. I'm sorry. Sorry, Kent. Sorry. I mean, that's where the home office was for the company we worked for. I should know that automatically. But anyway, he was talking about how this woman, they were investigating, and this woman had this apparition in the closet, and they went in there to investigate, and all of a sudden something walked out of the closet, and they all jumped, and it was the lady's cat. Had come out of the closet and freaked them all out because they thought they had something manifesting right there. Yeah. Al, I know you got one or two.
Well, I just wanted to bring up too, Greg brought up about, how we like to have fun when we're investigating. I mean, we have our clients investigate with us so that they can better understand what's happening in their home or business. So one of the things that helps us to lighten them up and to understand that there's really no fear for them is to get them laughing.
Right.
As they have fun with us, they see that there's nothing really for them to fear.